Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmak, and welcome to this edition of Legal Matters. In today's edition, we would like to discuss about the case involving Kangana Ranaut, and most of the Indians are aware of this incident where Kangana's property was demolished by giving a 1 hour notice by the BMC in Mumbai, and there were a lot of there were a lot of issues between Kangna and the government of Maharashtra. However, the case was filed by Kangna, and she demanded damages, and she has recently been, she has won the case. To discuss about this, let me invite my friend from Ahmedabad, very eminent lawyer in Ahmedabad High Court, Mr. Jeet Bhatt.
Thank you, Chandrakant, for introducing me and using such kind words. Yes, I'm looking forward for this discussion. We'll be discussing on this Kangana Ranaut's judgment delivered by the Bombay High Court.
So, Jeet, actually, what happens is, as a individual, we know that when the government deals with you, there is a provision of notices, and then if you don't turn up after three notices, then there is a provision of a harsher action. But even though in those cases, when it is involving house of somebody, the harsher measures are not taken usually. But in this case, a notice was issued at 9 a.m. and the demolition started at 10 a.m. And when the owner of the property is far away from her house or from her office, and the entire nation saw that she is boarding a flight to come to Mumbai and explain her situation. But in the meantime, before she landed at the Mumbai airport, her house was demolished. However, I think this has been taken up by the court, and they have awarded that this is a not a great action by the BMC of Mumbai City. So now you can tell us from the legal standpoint what really happened, because the case eventually went to High Court, and then you can then decode this case.
Right, absolutely, Chandrakant. You are absolutely right. In fact, a famous jurist in England had in 16th or 17th century held and laid down that rain can enter, storm can enter, wind can enter, but king and his men cannot enter anyone's house without justification of law. And this has been the age-old prophecy which has continued and has been also accepted by our High Court and Supreme Court. It's a fundamental uh, right to privacy now with the ninth judge bench decision last year. And therefore, right to residence and right to not to be disturbed, right to be let alone, absolutely is a fundamental right. And the manner in which the residential house of any person, any individual, if it is demolished in a manner which is not known to law, that action is absolutely unjustified. It is a colorable exercise of powers, and and therefore it has to be dealt upon extremely seriously. And that is what the Bombay High Court has done in this matter, which we are going to discuss. Uh, as you must be aware that every power that is vested in a public body or authority has to be used honestly, bona fidely, and reasonably. And all these requirements of law and the power which are vested were thrown out of the window, and the action smacked of malafide. And therefore, the Bombay High Court held that this action on the part of the Bombay Municipal Corporation was a colorable exercise. It quashed the notices issued, and I will be speaking on what had happened, how it transpired, and why the Bombay High Court accepted the stand of the actress Kangna that this was done under a malified propaganda by the authority, and therefore it has quashed. So what had happened, I'll just briefly deal with the facts. On 9th of September 2020, Kangna Ranaut had to immediately move the Bombay High Court at 11:30 a.m. because at 10 o'clock in the morning, the order of demolition was issued and was pasted on her residence. But at the time of pasting of that order of demolition of her residential house, the entire machinery for demolition was ready and they were there. So therefore, it was predetermined. The order of demolition was going to be passed. The order was passed, pasted, and immediately demolition drive carried out. And before she could knock the doors of the court, 40% of her house was already demolished. At 11:30 a.m. in the morning, the lawyers mentioned before the Bombay High Court saying there is extreme urgency in this matter, and the Bombay High Court permits the circulation and keeps the fixes the matter for hearing at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Wherein in 12:30 the proceedings initiate, the matter is taken up. The lawyers from Bombay Corporation are not available. They are not there before the court, and the court asks lawyer who is regularly representing corporation to appear, and they say that we don't have any papers. But this was not acceptable and believable because the Bombay Municipal Corporation had already filed a caveat a day before. So they were apprehending a petition was going to be filed, but they were not prepared. They did not prepare the legal team because they wanted to waste time. So that till the court could hear and decide the matter, they wanted to demolish. And this has been accepted. These arguments have been accepted. But before this demolition happened, what transpired, I would like to point out, is that Kangna Ranaut had purchased this residential premises in the year 2017 in Pali Hill in Bombay. And in 2019, she wanted to fully renovate the bungalow and do the interiors again. And therefore, she carried out the entire renovation process and engaged some entities. And they completed the work in January 2020. So the entire renovation work was completed on 14th January. She had a grand opening, which was covered in media. Several magazines had covered it that Kangna's house has been opened for, even a lot of magazines covered it with pictures of her bungalow and how well she had done it. All the interior works was also pictures were shown. And thereafter, till that point of time, the corporation had no problem with her residential house. But in in the in August 2020, there were certain tweets and certain remarks by Kangna Ranaut which irked the Bombay Police Commissioner and the state government. I would just like to briefly point out what were those tweets. On 30th August 2020, she tweeted that, and I quote, I am more scared of Mumbai police now than the movie mafia goons in Mumbai, and I would need security either from Himachal Pradesh government or directly from the central government. No Mumbai, please. Then on 1st September, she again tweeted that instead of condemning public teasing and bullying like this, CP Mumbai police is encouraging. Mumbai police has hit all-time low. Shame. Then again on 2nd September, she tweets, you are a big sham in the name of police. Don't you forget, not just me, all the people tagged got notifications of CP Mumbai before liking the derogatory tweet, trying to prove a criminal seems your old dhanda. You don't dare to lie, Mumbai police. On 3rd of September, he tweets again that Sanjay Raut, Shiv Sena leader, has given me an open threat and asked me not to come back to Mumbai after Azadi graffitis in Mumbai streets and now open threats. Why Mumbai is feeling like Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This was her tweet that triggered a row, and several remarks were again when in media it had appeared. And on 4th September, again, she tweets that I see many people are threatening me to not come back to Mumbai. So now I have decided to travel to Mumbai this coming week on 9th September. I will post the time when I land at Mumbai airport. किसी के बाप में हिम्मत है तो रोक ले. Now, in pursuance to this tweet, she was being threatened by Shiv Sena and other activists, and also by there were threat by Sanjay Rao, and therefore she was provided a Y plus security, and she was to come to Mumbai on 9th of September. But in between, what transpired is that the Samna, which is the Marathi daily newspaper, on 5th of September, whose executive editor is Sanjay Rao, uh, stated that joining issues with Mumbai will prove costly. Mumbai shi panga padega mehanga. These were the slogans which were being published in this Samna editorial. Then Shiv Sainiks also gave stern warning to Kangna to the effect that if she steps into Mumbai, their ladies will beat her with chappals and shoes. And also, what Sanjay Raut had written is that Mumbai belongs only to forefathers of Marathi people. Those who do not agree with this, they should show who are their fathers. It is a promise that Shiv Sena will perform Shrad of such enemies of Maharashtra. The health department should handle mental cases of such persons also who talk any nonsense about Mumbai. These were the ongoing tweets against Kangna and Kangna against Sanjay Raut and the Mumbai police. On 7th of September, the executive engineer of Mumbai Corporation visits her residence and he uh, makes a sketch and notes down certain uh, construction activities which were going on and says that these are unauthorized and illegal. And on 8th of September, he issues a notice and pastes it on the premises of Kangna Ranaut, saying that you stop these construction activities within 24 hours and provide the permissions that you have. Otherwise, in 24 hours, we will demolish and stop all these activities. So on 9th of September, this notice is pasted. His advocates, Kangna's advocate, replies to the said notice saying that there is no activity which is undergoing and there is no construction activity that has been taken because the construction has already completed in January. And since the Kangna actress is not here, you grant 7 days time in order to give a detailed reply. And all the contents and allegations of the notice are wrong and are not accepted. And therefore, they sought for 7 days time. But without waiting for that 7 days time, on 9th of September, they issue this order of demolition. And with all the arrangements made, JCB machines, police officers, protection was granted, and they start demolition at 10:30 in the morning. Therefore, this petition was filed, and it was heard by the Bombay High Court for several days. And ultimately, on 27th of November, the judgment is delivered by Bombay High Court, wherein the High Court holds that the entire action of the Bombay Corporation smacks of malafide, and therefore this has to be quashed. The notice was bad in law. In fact, all through conclusive proof, petitioner Kangana Ranaut could prove to the court that all construction activities had already been completed. There was no ongoing construction, and therefore the notice issued by one of the executive engineer who was also a party in those proceedings, Mr. Late, was also joined. And he himself was aware that no construction activity was going on. Despite that, the same day he issues notice saying that these activities are going on. So therefore, it was a wrong notice stating wrong facts. It was a conspiracy created only to ensure that her house is somehow demolished, and she is shown that what is the power of the authority, and if she speaks against the authority, then what the authority can do against her. And therefore, this smacks of malafide, and therefore, this detailed judgment of 166 pages, the Bombay High Court has in detail explained all these facts that how this happened, what were the factors which came into play by the authorities, and how they mischievously and with oblique motive carried out this demolition process and tried to evade the process of law. And therefore, ultimately, the Bombay High Court has allowed the petition and has appointed a valuer who will carry out the valuation of the demolition and the damage that has been done to her residential premise, and will come out with a figure of damages. And thereafter, on the next date of the matter is 9th of March, when the court will decide how much compensation should be awarded to Kangna for the illegal acts committed by the corporation. The High Court has also said that compensation amount will also be awarded from the personal uh, uh, the officers will be personally held accountable, and the compensation amount will be they will be liable to pay. So therefore, absolutely important decision, and the hearing officers will be taught a lesson when they will themselves have to pay the compensation amount. So therefore, it's a very good judgment. It upholds the constitutional and fundamental rights of citizen, and it also lays down that the state, the machinery, the establishment cannot act in arbitrary, discriminatory, and such malified manner, and therefore this is a welcome judgment, and it lays down some important issues, questions of law.
Jeet, when I was watching this whole incident taking place on the TV, and I could make out because I have some knowledge of the structural integrity of the houses. What I noticed is that the purpose of this demolition drive was to actually destroy the entire house, and they were actually selecting the right points, uh, the pivotals of the columns and the beams, and they specifically destroyed those points in the house. So I think the intention of the demolishers were to basically demolish the entire house. So even if you see the structure standing, but it is of no use because it is going to crumble any day. It can crumble in 1 hour, or it can take some couple of days to crumble. But that is what they have ensured. That means the house is not usable anymore. Number two, there was a temple in the house, which was also destroyed. The statue of the god was also thrown out. I mean, who would do this kind of work? So I was aghast to see when these kind of things were being shown on TV, and thankfully that High Court has taken the right action, and I'm very happy to know that the people who are actually taking this law in their own hand, even though they are government servants, should be taught a lesson because they should not take, because all of us live in a democratic world and we think that we are living in a democracy. It does not mean that the state can create an anarchy, and whoever that person is, if you're not able to handle the comments, then it shows immaturity, and thus you should not be allowed any creation of anarchy. You have any last word to talk about this judgment?
Yes, so exactly that is what the Bombay High Court also observed, that though the statements found to be little irresponsible, and asked the actress to exercise some restraint while airing her opinions, but it also said at the same time that it does not mean, or it does not give the state or its machinery any right to act in such a manner, because how much ever irresponsible the statements, or how much ever distasteful or wrong they may be, the best way to deal with them is to ignore them. The state cannot say that you are issuing such distasteful and irresponsible statements, so we will do this to you. That arbitrary actions are not permissible under the state, by the state, and that is a fundamental right of every citizen to be treated equally. So therefore, in that manner, these observations are clearly important. And also, as you said, that the manner in which the house is broken is also, you are absolutely right, because if if at all, if some part of the house was unauthorized, she could have applied for regularization of those structure by paying some penalty. But it did not give the Bombay Corporation any right to demolish the house, and there was no illegal construction at that time happening. But they showed in such a manner that illegal construction or unauthorized construction was going on. Therefore, the notice which was issued to her said that you stop this construction or we will demolish. But she said that there is nothing that is going on. The construction is complete. That so therefore this was absolutely misapplication of law, non-application of mind, and only to ensure that the house is.
So I think because of this judgment, the Kangana has been given her dues, and I'm sure in the due course of time she would be given the right amount of compensation. Although the compensation can be only quantified by the surveyor, but when you construct a house, you put your soul into it. Those kind of compensation, I don't think anybody can calculate. But I'm sure she would have exerted a lot of her imagination and creativity in building a beautiful office come residence. I don't think we can do much about it. But we will definitely cover if any new development happens in this case. In the end, I would like to say that there is a freedom of speech to all citizens in India, and that is why, even though Kagna was giving her tweets, but that is all given in the Constitution by the Constitution of India to all citizens. So thank you very much, Jeet, for finding time and coming on our show and talking about this very, very important case, which has been watched by almost 1.3 billion people across India.
Thank you very much, Chandrakant, for having me and letting me talk on this important judgment.
And we will catch up with you, Jeet, once again next Thursday on Legal Matters.
Sure. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Good morning. And today is December 20th of 2021. We are actually approaching Christmas in a couple of days and also New Year in a couple of weeks. Important thing is that today is again a chilly morning, and as we progress in our winters, the temperature is going to dip again and again. So let's understand what are the important items to discuss. Well, as I'm reading my mobile along with you, I think before I go to the political news, or I can completely skip the political news, I can say that the yellow alert has been, announced in certain parts of North India. And yellow alert basically means that the winters are severe this time. It's much cooler. People must wear proper clothing. They must protect themselves from the harsh winter, which they are not used to, especially in a country like India, where people are mostly geared up for summers, because most of the year is actually very hot in India. But this time the cold weather is troublesome. Temperature is dipping in Delhi as low as 5 or 6 in the nights. So I think my only suggestion is that wear proper clothes. Don't venture out without shielding yourself, without covering yourself into the elements. There is cold breeze also sometimes. So, and things are going to get cooler. So this is just a word of caution. Yellow alert has been announced in certain parts of North India, which means it's a caution basically. What else? Well, I think another important aspect is for international travels, there is a mandatory PCR test, which we all know. But important thing is that you can actually do a pre-booking now. So I think this is again a good thing, because you don't want to waste your time when you approach the PCR center for giving your samples for COVID tests. You can actually do the pre-booking, and you can reach the center at a predetermined time, and it will be easier for everyone. Well, I'm skipping all the political news, because it has very little meaning when it comes to business. So let's look at what is there in business. So, well, this is important. Tokenization of credit card and debit card. In fact, everyone is affected by it. What happens is, when you actually go to Amazon, or whenever, like Google, or things, any other website which we normally use, we don't want to key in our card every time we make a purchase. So what we do is we actually store the card number into Amazon, thinking that Amazon or Google or Microsoft will protect it, will make it, basically make it secure, even though we have given everything to them, including our
secret numbers, etc. They will store the card. So that in future you don't have to remember the card. All you have to do when you want to make a purchase, you can actually just choose a method and go ahead and make your purchase. Now that has been changed for past couple of months. For past 6 months, I have experienced on my company Google account, I have to go to Google every time, every month, and the automatic debit on my company credit card or debit card is not happening from Google, and this is related to business itself. So now they have come out with a new system called tokenization of your card, which means that you will not be sharing your card with the online agency like Amazon or Google or Microsoft or GoDaddy or whatever. You will be sharing, you have to get your card number converted into a token. So it is secure. And then you give this token to the online agency, which will store your token. So this is a security measures, one security measures which has been added to protect your card and any accidental swiping of your card online or any malicious activity related to your which is affecting your credit lines. So I think this is good. It has been started by the government. Well, this is interesting. I think I've been thinking about it or probably talking about it in various programs. Aadhaar linked voting must be done because Aadhaar is a very, very secure identification or identification proof system which is based on biometrics. So when we talk about voting, it should be directly linked to Aadhaar. So I think this is something that there will be a bill presented in Lok Sabha. I think that is interesting. And if it get passed, then our voting ID will be directly linked to our Aadhaar cards, so that we don't have to really go ahead and there is a separate list produced whenever there is a election. There is a voting list, and then we also have Aadhaar because we know that we live in this area. So all that can be avoided. So you don't have to do duplication. So if everything is linked to Aadhaar, then it is much easier, and you can do voting based on your Aadhaar card number. What else? So let me ask you, friends, you can actually send me your comments also. Do you use Razorpay for receiving your payments? I find it very, very user friendly. I use it, and the news is that their valuation has gone up to about 7.5 billion US dollars. And they have also done a fresh fundraise of 375 million US dollars. So this is interesting because I think Razorpay is becoming a platform of choice, especially when PayPal has removed Indian currency from their preferred currency list. So Razorpay is basically gaining ground here. Earlier, and I mean until 2019, 2020, we were actually getting even Indian rupees through PayPal, which is not happening now. So this is interesting. Razorpay is increasing their value proposition. All right, friends. So this is all important news or important things that require our attention. Couple of things are related to politics, which I don't want to talk about. But I think on a Monday morning, it's a chilly morning. Protect yourself. Don't go out without wearing layers, and keep watching the rise of Razorpay. I think that is something very interesting. And also, I think we should know exactly what happens to the bill which is presented in Lok Sabha today, which is going to link our Aadhaar card with our voting ID. So friends, do engage with me by sending your comments. And as you know, I respond to each one of them. And I'll catch you in Morning Brew tomorrow. Till then, have a nice and successful Monday, December 20th, 2021. Hello, friends. Welcome to Akul Mac Live, and I'm Chandrakant. Today, we will discuss about a great development in UK, where the Prime Minister of United Kingdom has announced increase in taxes to handle the crisis which has been created by pandemic. This is a big step, and that has made a lot of people unhappy. I'll be joined by a very distinguished business personality from UK to discuss this point. Before we welcome our guest, I have to tell you that we are live in this show, and you can use the social media chat function to communicate with us. You have an observation, a suggestion, a comment, or even a question. All that will be displayed live on the screen along with your name. We will actually address your query straight away. So let me welcome my guest today. His name is Mr. Mike Bradley, and he is joining us from UK. He is the Chief Strategy Officer of Scale Up Arena. So without further ado, let's welcome him. Hello, Mike. How are you doing today? Welcome to the show.
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you very much, Chandra. Yes, I'm very good. Thank you. And enjoying the sunshine, which I understand is not the case in Delhi today.
Well, Mike, it's raining here. But I think it's a big news. It's one of the trending items globally that the Prime Minister of UK, of your country, has gotten approval and increased the taxes on the corporates. And I personally believe that this is not the best method to handle a crisis. But I think you are the countryman. Your opinion counts. What is your view on this?
Yeah, well, it's, I think there's an increase in dividend tax, and there's also a planned increase in what they call national insurance to fund the extra demands on social care. And yes, I think it's very interesting approach. Not sure that it's one that's universally accepted. Our own local MP has also given, well, he voted against the introduction of this increase, and has made some very valid points. I tend to be of the same disposition as yourself, feeling that we have to look, particularly in this post-pandemic world, at the whole purpose and approach that we have to public sector funding and the services and how that is done. And just applying a blanket demand for extra tax is not necessarily the correct way to plug the holes and to ensure that in the future, the delivery mechanism is of fit for the future purpose, if you like.
Well, Mike, I think usually when the world goes through crisis, each country reacts in a different way. But the increase in taxes is a very unpopular decision by any government for last 2000 years. Even if there was a monarchy and the king increases the tax because if there is a famine somewhere, the king immediately becomes very unpopular. So in a democratic setup, if you increase the tax, I think it's a very unpopular decision, and I'm sure Mr. Johnson knows about this, and still he has taken such a decision. You have any thought process around it? Why he has taken this decision?
No, I don't know what his personal reason was. What I do think is it's a potentially dangerous approach because, the two key parties we have in the UK, one is particularly known for increasing spending by raising taxes, and the Conservative mantra is around being a low tax government and commitments that were made to not increasing taxes. And yes, the pandemic potentially had changed the dynamic. That I think is part of the reason that the change has been made, or this approach has been suggested. However, I think it was fair to say that before looking to increase receipts, there was a good need to look at the efficiency and the effectiveness of existing spending. And it's rather strange that the social care story is one that has been used, because social care in and of itself is means tested. Okay, so it calls into question, if you can have means testing, say, in social care, why can't you have means testing on health benefits or on other services, child benefits, etc.? And these things have been proposed in the past by the Conservative Party, but were shouted down by the Socialist Party, saying that actually these benefits should be universal. But the opposing point of view would say, well, actually, why do you need a universal benefit if somebody's a millionaire? They don't necessarily need this benefit. Therefore, it would not be sensible use of public money to give them money that they don't really need. And the whole contentious point around this is that they're saying, well, actually, this social care is means tested, but other forms of public services are universally applied. And if we, for example, means tested other services, like we do social care, then actually the demand for tax may decrease rather than increase. So I think one of the first things that we can look at is thinking that maybe now's the time to look at the fair apportionment and allocation of cost based upon the need, so that the public sector services become a safety net in some cases. Obviously, things like street lighting, we all need street lighting. So street lighting has to be done through the public sector, but perhaps other on-demand services should be means tested so that the increase in burden of tax should not increase. In addition to which, obviously, the pandemic has shot a lot of local shops. You know, local traders have gone out of business, local businesses have gone, restaurants have gone. And so these are decreasing the tax receipts that the council has, which means there's two options. Either, again, the council says, because we can, we will increase the tax burden and say we want more from those who've got money. Or we take a fresh approach and say, well, actually, let's look at the services we're delivering and either deliver more with less, which is, of course, what the private sector has been doing for decades, or at the very least say, well, actually, what actually needs to be delivered through the public sector versus what could be delivered through the private sector. And we then redress that balance so that the burden of taxation is less, not increased. And of course, there's also the consideration, which is the pandemic has adversely affected a lot of the businesses that are continuing and haven't had to close. And is it fair to burden these businesses with yet more cost and yet more penalties for success at a time when some of those are all also hanging on by a thread? So I think it's not an appropriate time to demand more tax. It's an appropriate time to relook at how we're spending, making sure it's fit for purpose, lean enough for purpose, delivering more with less, giving more to the taxpayers, be they private sector corporates or ordinary tax-paying employees.
Well, Mike, I think your and my thoughts are totally aligned. In fact, the Indian government is also going through the same phase as many other governments, including all governments. All people are facing hardships right now because of lack of business. So the India has taken this in a different approach. They have actually created almost like $1 trillion project, and it is meant for public people partnership. They want to construct a lot of infrastructure. So if citizens have some experience and money with them to build even small infrastructure that will be taken over by the government. So this is the new project they have started just around 10 days back, where and it's called India Infra Pipeline Project. It's a huge thing, and across the length and breadth of such a large country, there will be multiple airports, there'll be roads, railroads, solar power plants. I think there is a huge list of infrastructure that they want to be built, operate, and transfer. And this is almost like $1 trillion new project which the government has launched. So I think that is a better approach, where you are actually paying for and driving the economy by actually people producing some work rather than taxing, because there is no money for tax. I mean, there is no money for survival. So how you can pay tax? So I think that is where the challenge is, Mike.
I think you're right. I think there are infrastructure projects that need to be developed, but I think we again need to be very careful which infrastructure projects we pin our future hat on. Is it depend, and it's going to depend by region, it's going to depend by country, but should our money therefore be going on improving, I don't know, railroads infrastructure, when perhaps what we really need is to improve the internet superhighway, because more and more business is going to be transacted online. So where does the investment go? And I think we've got to be very, very sure that we know exactly where we should be spending the money for the future strategy. Solar, wind farms. My personal view is we should not be spending more on transport infrastructure. We should be spending more on ensuring that people can work from wherever they happen to live efficiently and effectively, utilizing technology, utilizing digital skills and digital capability. And I don't think that's in any country that is by any means universal right now. And that possibly should be where the infrastructure spending is going. But doing that through private sector, yes. I think we've also got to ensure that that is done in a way that benefits not just the multinationals and the big companies, but benefits the SMEs who can actually supply those services.
Well, I think you are the citizen of UK, and hope your voice is reaching the government over there. But I think you're making a lot of sense. I think there is one more thing I'd like to share from my side, is that in order to support the SMEs, the Indian government has opened up with Singapore, where for the micropayments, the Pay Now platform of Singapore is now linked with the micropayment platform of India, which is called BHIM, BHIM. So if I have to make a payment to a merchant or my vendor in the Singapore, I can just transfer money using BHIM platform. And that has been a big thing, because if I have to send money outside the country, there are big regulations. So for small micropayments, for services, I think up to $100, it's a good thing, because if I have to pay a Singaporean company, I can engage with them, which was not possible so far. So if UK government also follow suit and open up their micropayment platform with India, I think there is a lot of business waiting to happen, because the biggest challenge is how do you collect your payments, and how do you engage with Indian merchants? How do you get paid out of India? So I think this is sure. Your views, Mike.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this whole concept of how SMEs trade with each other needs to be simplified, because once again, at the moment, the system benefits the multinationals. It doesn't make it easy enough for the SMEs, because the SMEs are busy running and doing their own core business. They shouldn't have to wade into tons of red tape and bureaucracy in order to trade with each other. So I agree with the whole idea of micropayments and that sort of thing. What I think is important, though, is that each national country has a mechanism that they support and provide a platform to interact with these different country platforms. That I think would be a very useful infrastructure project to invest in, because I think that would open up a lot more opportunities for sure. I think there's always a risk of offshoring what principally will be core to the national economy. And I think there is a risk that it depends on, if I'm hearing you correctly, that Singapore is running this platform and the Indian government are utilizing that platform. What would be interesting, particularly with all the tech skills and knowledge that you have in India, why that platform hasn't been created within India and then linked on a backbone level with international platforms such as the Singapore one.
Well, Mike, let me correct that perception. Basically, we have the world's biggest digital platform because of the population, sheer numbers that the Indians have.
Yep.
And that platform is called Beam. And it is linked to the people's bank accounts using mobile phones. And sure, similar platforms are there across in different countries. And it seems that even Singapore has a similar platform. So now if I have to make a payment to the vendor that I have in Singapore, all I have to do is send him $50 on his mobile phone. It will get directly credited into his bank account. So, we can bypass all the red tapeism here.
Okay.
We don't have to fill 10 forms, go to bank, set up the vendor, all those things for small transactions. Is taken care. So it's basically integrating two platforms, where, bypassing the foreign exchange rules and giving benefit to small, medium enterprises, to SMEs for small payments is what the idea is, Mike.
Okay. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. But that's really enlightened and very much a future strategy, and something I think the Indian government does very well, at least, is to look at technology that's coming through the future pipeline and adopting it, such as the way that you're embracing things like solar and embracing new ways of managing, harvesting energy sources, for example. Something I think we all need to do, and need to do with increasing regularity. India, I think, has always been ahead of the game on that. Digital education, I think, is something that India has embraced. And I think there's lessons for the rest of the world, particularly the tertiary Western economies, we've got legacy traditions that means that it takes forever to change the way the tanker is pointing. And I think we need to get much cuter about this and move much faster. And that's, again, I think, where a lot of strategy and vision needs to come from the private sector. And I don't just mean the multinationals and the big, SEMSEX companies, but from the SMEs themselves, who are the future of the economies, such that they can actually influence the way that the economy runs in the future, which is in their interests, which is 99% of the employee base. So SMEs are the driver, whichever global economy you're in, and SMEs need to be listened to. The infrastructure investments and opportunities need to reflect the SMEs' desires for future trading.
So hopefully your government is listening. Is there a possibility of overturning this this particular decision of the government, or is it final? You will be taxed more. What is the situation right now?
Well, I think it sounds like this is going through, but what I think there will be a backlash, and what that hopefully, well, I've already this morning been listening to an MP who is raising this very vocally a couple of days ago in the House of Commons, basically saying, look, there are other ways to look at this. One of the statements was that a certain minister at some point said, well, we could cope with 25% less public sector employees than we currently have. And so this particular MP said, well, if that's the case, why aren't we doing it? Because that in and of itself would provide a lot of extra resource, maybe to be put into social care already. So why increase taxes if 25% of the workforce is not required? And also using things like remote working to shut down expensive public sector offices that are no longer needed, rather than funding those, keeping the lights on literally in buildings that are no longer necessary, is not good use of public funds and taxpayers' money. So, that I think the voices are being heard, and voices will increase with their volume and velocity to ensure that things are done properly in the future, because you can't just keep putting your hand into the public pocket and saying, oh, we want more tax, let me pick your pockets for it, whether you be a corporate or an individual.
Well, Mike, I feel sorry because of this. I think the economy is already under a lot of burden. Hopefully, the UK government finds a solution. I think we will keep following this story. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your views. Hopefully, somebody in the governance there consider your ideas, your views. And we will catch up with you next time if there are new developments in this regard. So thank you so much, Mike, for joining us.
Been a pleasure, Chandra, and have a great day. Take care. Bye.
Hello friends, this is Chandra, and today I would like to talk to all my startup and small medium companies and give some ideas on how you can take your product and your knowledge and your services to right people, right audience. And this is something that I have personally tried, and I would like to share this information with you all with the intention that you can also leverage this and probably take some of these action points, and if you like, you can implement them and also grow your business. One of the things which I would like to mention today is the marketing strategy of all the people today is by and large based on the email. And while we get so many emails, we also individually delete all those emails which are hitting our inbox. So the chances are that if we are sending our emails, somebody else is deleting those emails. So there is a risk of your email messages not reaching to the right audience or the intended audience, or even if they are reaching, they are getting deleted. There is very little analytics that is possible on what you can do to increase the interest level of the recipient. So that is one of the issues that there is, which is plaguing all of us in the field today. And the other issue is there are a lot of compliance related matters which we have to take care. So while there is a social media and many organizations are leveraging social media to take their messages and they are moving away from email, I personally feel that time is right to move away from email marketing and get into the social media marketing completely. For various reasons, there are a lot of advantages. One of the advantages is non-intrusive. That means whoever is seeing those messages, the control is in his hand, and he can actually control what he wants to see. And suppose he doesn't want to see your post, then he can simply move on and see something else. So it's completely non-intrusive. It is not interfering in any privacy. At the same time, you have leverage of reaching a lot of people globally. So you can now address a bigger segment of people on social media. The challenge on social media is how do you send your messages and the same version to all of these different social media which is available today. So we can help you with all these new techniques, and if you go to the link which is there on the website, that is topbrass.akulmac.com. This is a new platform that we have created which will help you do all this at a very low cost. So I think my ideas, my suggestions are in line with what you are thinking. My sincere suggestion is move out of email marketing as soon as possible, because you're spending a lot of money in building the infrastructure, buying client databases, building CRMs, running campaigns, and the ROI is not visible. So start using social media as quickly as possible, and you will see the difference. Thank you.
Hello friends, welcome to Akul Mac Live. My name is Chandrakant. Today there is a fantastic news. As of last night, the Ingenuity helicopter took off for 30 seconds on the surface of Mars, flew around a couple of feet, and then landed after 30 seconds. It's a great engineering feat. It's for the first time after 100 years, mankind has flown a man-made flying object on a different planet. So that is why we want to discuss this today. Before we start our discussion, a word on our giveaway. We have some unique Akulmac memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmac gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmac and smash that like button. Now let's get back to our discussion. Friends, let me introduce our guest today. His name is Mr. Naval Gund. He joins us from UK. He is also the chairman of Mindfit Limited. And today we will discuss about the greatest feat. That means the mankind has flown another aircraft on a different planet. It's a Wright brother moment once again. So without further ado, let me invite my guest today.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, CK. Yes, what a feat of engineering. Millions of miles away in a planet we've never walked on before. And all of a sudden, we've got, as you quite rightly say, it's a Wright brothers moment. And the irony is, it's just a little helicopter that's taken off, gone a few hundred feet in the air, flown around for a couple of minutes, taken a few pictures, and landed safely. But what a feat of engineering, all done remotely from millions and millions of miles away. I mean, it's unbelievable. And we should be excited. It's not like a little drone taking off in your backyard and going up and smashing into the window because you couldn't control it. This is miles away. So what does it mean to you, CK?
Well, Naval, one thing is for sure is that I tried to tune in into NASA live feed because it was coming live on the internet on the NASA live feed, and things were moving very slowly. So I want to tell the viewers that what was really going on, and why the NASA live feed is showing you things which happened like very far, miles, thousands, millions of miles away, and what really happened. So there are two things which are very important. One is when the signal from Ingenuity craft comes to Earth, it requires a lot of process, and there are very, very powerful antennas spread across the Earth which are capturing those signals. So even a 30-second flight, the processing of data has taken 4 hours. So the NASA live feed, why it looks like that people are sitting and nothing is happening. It actually, the fact is that a lot of things are happening, and the data which is flowing from the aircraft and finally it is reaching Earth is taking 4 hours. So it takes a lot of time to process. So that is one thing I want to say. What is your opinion on this, Neville?
Well, I'm a bit of a techie, really, when it comes to all this, and I love playing with a drone. I've got my own drone. As a boy, I used to play with trains and Skeletrics and watch them go round and round and round and round. Never got bored with it because you never know, it might fall off. You'd have to put it back on again. But this is an amazing feat of engineering. This is humankind at its best. We are miles away. We're not literally operating it from where we are. This is all pre-programmed. It's all very clever stuff. It shows our technical capability. It shows that humans are incredibly ingenious in what they're doing and what they're designing. And one of the feats here is a lot of people don't appreciate the technology that's gone into this particular machine. So there's one thing having a rover on a number of wheels go over terrain. And there's another thing actually taking off a flight, taking off on gravity system that's not normal to the UK, to the globe. We have got our gravity here, thanks to Newton, measured it 9.8 meters per second is the pull of gravity. There, it's a lot thinner air. So these rotors have not only got to rotate much faster to get the lift, but they're also rotating in the opposite way, which is why they had a test the other day of testing the rotors on the ground. So making sure one spin the way it was supposed to spin and the other one was spinning the way it was supposed to spin too. And they're doing alternates. So it's a bit like the little thing about patting your head and moving your hand. And if you can do that, that's what these rotors are doing. They're going in opposite directions. And that, to me, that is the real feat of engineering here. It's making sure that everything works in sync. And we've seen some amazing pictures from a few hundred feet up in the air. We've seen the shadow of this little flying machine. And no wonder. Did you see the pictures of the NASA engineers when it actually took off, when they saw it take off for the first time? They were absolutely elated. This is the ultimate in some of their careers. Some of them will be retiring in 2 or 3 years' time, and that's it. They've now achieved, their lifetime's ambition, only paving the way for other people to take it to the next step. For SpaceX, to take over and start colonizing Mars. We're seeing real amazing innovation in mankind. And by the way, we need to tell the viewers that this ship took off. This spaceship took off, not yesterday, not last week, but months ago. So it's not today's engineering that we're dealing with. It's engineering that actually is probably 5 years old. Because by the time they've manufactured it and they put it into design and got the specifications right, and let's face it, they couldn't test it here really because we didn't have the same atmosphere. So all of these things, will it work, won't it work? All this anticipation, all this risk, all these human emotions that they're going through, it's no wonder that some of them were jumping for joy. I wish I could have been there with them, because to feel that excitement as an engineer must have been absolutely amazing, stupendous. Can't think of the words, really. There isn't a word to explain it. They've reached new heights.
Well, Level, in fact, I want to tell the viewers about something which they have not heard so far. And one of the difference between taking a flight on Earth and taking a flight on Mars is the atmosphere of Earth. Because whenever there is a thick air on Earth, which will assist you to take a flight, and as you rightly said, that the rotors of this Ingenuity helicopters are moving 5 times the speed of any helicopter on Earth. So, a typical helicopter takes about 300 revolutions for the rotor to make lift on Earth. Now, this helicopter on Mars requires 2,500 revolutions per per minute, and that is why they are moving at very very high speed. And this is really an experiment. And now, what people don't know yet is that there is lot of dust on Mars, and because of this dust being available, unlike Earth, because there is going to be rain and it will wash away the dust, and usually the air on Earth is clean, but on Mars there is always a lot of dust. Even though the gravity is low and the atmosphere is 99% thinner than Earth, but still it has a lot of dust. And you know what happens when there is dust? There is going to be static electricity. So this is an experiment, as I said. As it actually ages, or it takes into multiple flights in future, then the rotor and the helicopter body will generate static current because of the dust particle, minute dust particles, which its rotor start rubbing into. And over time, the static current will start building up into the outer surface of the helicopter. And it will be very interesting to see, what happens, whether it's going to discharge or whether it's going to attract more dust, rendering the whole device not useful very soon, and it will not be able to live its own life, what has been planned for it. But I think it's very interesting because this static current will start building over the rotors, over the body, and then it may discharge. If it discharge, it will be a catastrophic explosion. So I think that is something which people are not aware, and I thought I will bring this fact upfront.
No, it's a really important fact. I mean, there are two problems with dust, one of which you mentioned is generating static electricity. And the other one, of course, is it clogs up engines. So there needs to be a filtration system to make sure that it doesn't actually get into the engine. And it's not, I think we need to make sure that people understand this is not a typical combustion engine that we're talking about up there. This is an electric engine, which is even more of a feat of engineering, to create an electric engine that actually delivers the power to weight ratio so that we can actually get lift. I did read somewhere that they will be manually discharging, and I think that's why some of the early flights are going to be quite short, and they'll be almost going back to the rover and plugging itself back in and manually discharging, and maybe even utilizing that electricity back into the battery power of the rover. I mean, who knows? But these guys are clearly, these guys are at the top of their game. I mean, they really are pushing boundaries. Let's just recap here. This is a completely different planet. This is not, a mocked up space facility in the middle of the Nevada desert. This is a long way away. It's Mars, and to get something there, everything seems to have gone to plan, which has to be a first, which can only set us in good stead for moving forward. I mean, like anything else, as we've seen, space travel is not without risk. Going down in a submarine deep in the water is not without risk. So let's hope that these engineers are mitigating a lot of that risk, so that they're making spaceflight, maybe not for the likes of myself, part way through his 70th decade. And so we'll see. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'd love to go to Mars, wouldn't you?
Well, Neville, I would love to go to Europa, and I know for sure that Mars is just an experiment, and the next NASA mission to Europa is actually going to fly. It's not going to be a rover, so it's going to fly with four drone type engines, which will fly off to another mountain, cross another valley on Europa, where the air is thicker, atmosphere is much thicker. So I think the learning on the Mars, because of this Ingenuity helicopter, will help us refine our designs for Europa, which is going to be in 2030. So I think this is a stepping stone, as you rightly said. And if that mission is successful, I will definitely like to buy a ticket, if possible, to Europa.
Well, let's hope we win the lottery.
Absolutely, Neville. I think this is something very exciting, and as we all know, that it is like taking a flight on a different planet for the first time for modern humans. So it's very exciting. It's a stepping stone. Thank you so much for coming live with us today. We will catch up again tomorrow on something more interesting.
My pleasure. You're not going to get much more interested in this, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely amazing news. Good luck, everybody. Just log into NASA. Just go online, Google it, and you'll see what we're talking about. This is phenomenal stuff. See what the human race is capable of. Have a great day.
Have a great day, Neville. See you tomorrow.
Hello friends, welcome to Akul Mek Live. I'm Kanchan Verma and today we are discussing about music therapy with our guest. But before that, I would like to remind you there's a free gift available only for you. So stick around to this episode till the end. We will guide you how to avail your free gift. Hello friends, welcome to our show and today I have Dr. Shambhavi Das. And again, we will be discussing some special raga. So, welcome to the show, Shambhavi. How are you doing today?
Namaste. Hello, Kanchanji, and everyone. I'm doing okay. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah, so what raga we are discussing today?
So today I would like to discuss Rag Bhairav, which is a very important rag in Indian classical music. And Bhairav is something which people learn on the basics, because therapeutically and music training wise also it is very important and a very basic rag. It's a parent of all ragas. So I would like to discuss that, and it's an interesting rag.
Yeah, so before we start this rag and understand this rag, so would you also kind of sing something for our viewers so that they can understand that what kind of rag we are discussing?
Sure. So I would like to sing a very popular bhajan in Rag Bhairav. ऐ मालिक तेरे बंदे हम ऐसे हो हमारे करम नेकी पर चले और बदी से डरे ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम ऐ मालिक तेरे बंदे हम ये अंधेरा घना छा रहा मेरा इंसान घबरा रहा, हो रहा बेखबर, कुछ ना आता नजर, सुख का सूरज छिपा जा रहा है, तेरी रोशनी में जो दम, तो अमावस को कर दे पूनम, नेकी पर चले और बदी से डरे, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम। ऐ मालिक तेरे बंदे हम, ऐसे हो हमारे करम, नेकी पर चले और बदी से डरे, ताकि हंसते हुए निकले दम।
बहुत खूबसूरत,
Thank
बहुत
you.
अच्छा and very entertaining and very kind of touching our heart. So let's know about this raga and how it affects when we talk about music therapy.
So this is a raga, and actually today I have taken, this is a dull, this is a serious rag. Unlike other ragas which we have done already in the other episodes, but this is not a bubbly, not a playful rag. And why? Because this has a lot of minor notes. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa sa ni da ma ga re sa. Yes, it is serious rag, but there is a big significance. Why is it so serious? First of all, it is a dawn raga, not even pratah kal. Pratah kal is still 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, but this is a very ancient rag which is created by Lord Shiva when he was meditating. So this is a dawn rag which is sung around 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Means when sun is about to rise, and when it rises up, and when it is actually it enters in your eyes with a red color, so it is called arvind. So at that time this rag is sung, and this has a very big significance. Why? Because this is a rag which activates our whole chakras, all the 7 chakras we have from down to up, 7 chakras. So that's why it is very serious rag. Now when you wake up in the morning, obviously you don't like to listen to playful songs, bubbly, because at that time you are cool, calm, you have taken a very productive sleep, and you want to go and visit your nature. You go and spend time at that time that this rag is sung. Now, in these days, obviously, we don't wake up at 4 o'clock, but still, that is called a Brahma Bela. Brahma Bela means the God's time. When you wake up at that time, whatever you do, your mind is the most grasping. That's the most grasping time, and your mind retains the maximum at that time. So this rag works on your brain a lot. That it actually makes you retain things, whatever you are learning, whatever you are doing at that time. So it is said that you should always do something productive, constructive at that time. More constructive than worshipping the God, because obviously worshipping God is good, but it's something you are doing it daily. So you should do something which is you are growing your brain at that time, because anyways your brain will grow. So this is very therapeutic rag because it is set to activate the chakras when you are singing at, and this rag makes you prepare for the diurnal activities you are doing. So when you have activated your chakras, when you have energized it, so now you are ready for such a big time cross till evening. We all want to just sleep. So it is very good at that time, and it has a lot of significance, and Lord Shiva has created, it's a first raga. In Carnatic music, it is called Maya Malav Gauda. and it's in Carnatic discipline also, it's very important rag. I would like to sing once. It has a minor note, the second minor, and the sixth minor. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa sa ni dha pa ma ga re sa re. So this has been, it's taken like a like it doesn't wait on the re, it is very oscillating. The minor notes are so oscillating, as if you are, you know, searching something from your chakras. And it is normally, this rag is so, it is sung from your you know, the blower gut. So it seems like it is, you know, it works on your toxins as well, because at that lower abdomen you have a lot of toxins, you urinate. So sare sare, so this part, when you do this, it seems it's so oscillating that it's cleansing you. So it's very good for cleansing your body and your mind, soul.
So before we go forward, I would like to tell our viewers that Dr. Shambhavi Das is a well-known music therapist and somebody who wants to get the music therapy or want to learn music. So contact us. We will facilitate learning of music and music therapy. So now, Dr. Shambhavi Das, I would like to ask you that there's a lot of folk music and there's a lot of classical music. We are talking about classical music, but I think as a lay person that classical music may have originated from folk music. So what is the difference between classical music and folk music?
Yes, you are right. And folk music is a very beautiful genre. And you're right, classical music has been originated because classical music is what? It has been standardized. Whatever songs you sing in a daily basis, we write it down and we say, oh, this is a classical music. So, folk music was Jhulat Ram. Ramchandji was born. So what ladies are singing? Jhulat Ram Palanva Ho Rama. So basically, folk music is what you think, what you do on the daily basis, that you just keep, you sing it musically. And this song has been originated by the rural areas as well, like the farmer ladies who used to go for you know, farming and growing the farms and everything. They have all the, so I'm from UP. Everybody have their own origin, have their regional folks. Marathis have their own lavani, abhang, and UP have their own Kajri, Chaiti, Baramasa, Sawan. Sawan song is sung on during the Sawan, the rainy season. So for every seasons you have a rag, for every event, festivities you have a song, and for every you know, the when the child is born, when a marriage function is going on, whatever you can think of, there are songs for that. Agriculture songs, banna banni songs, they are singing in the marriage. Like in UP we have a banna banni songs, and sohar song is there when the child is born. Then so there are many songs. And so basically folk music is for jan samanya, means the common masses. The common masses cannot understand classical music, they cannot standardize the music, so they are very sweet people. And they like to sing also, and they like to listen also the songs in their languages, and the tunes which are very easy. Like we have songs, tunes are very easy in the folk music. So uh, uh, normally we can say that classical music is originated because they used to sing a lot. Now the people listen to that tunes and they standardized it, and we call it classical music, and then the ragas are made or whatever. So this is one aspect. Now I'm going to give you one example, like Navaratri song. मैया के मंदिरवा में दीपक बाती, मैया के मंदिरवा में दीपक बाती, भवानी के मंदिरवा में दीपक बाती, काहे का दीपक काहे की बाती, काहे का दीपक. Somebody asked the lady, काहे का दीपक, काहे का दीपक, काहे की बाती, काहे का तेल चढ़े सारी राती. So the lady tells, भक्ति का दीपक, श्रद्धा की बाती, माणिक तेल चढ़े सारी राती, मैया के मंदिरवा में दीपक बाती. So this is also made by the common people while singing sometimes. So like in some folk songs we forget and then we make it that way. So it is very I mean, these are so lovely songs that you can just make it. Then when it's like for the modern people, we can say that you are working in the kitchen cooking something, and you are making a song out of that you are thinking, okay, ab ye dalna hai, ab masala dalna hai, and then you are thinking musically. So in today's aspect, we can take it like the students are studying, and they can just, whenever they get time, they can just think, they can say that kuch study songs, some study songs are there. So this is how. But normally folk songs were made in these areas like agriculture, festivals, daily works, so all these things.
So actually,
I want to sing one, yeah, I want to sing one more song, which is Banna Banni song. So, मोको पी हरिया प्यारो लागे, मैं नाही जाऊं ससुरलिया, हो मोको पी हरिया प्यारो लागे, मैं नाही जाऊं ससुरलिया. So this is a lady saying that I don't want to go to my to husband's place, because my father's place I like it more. So it's like this thing. So so folk cultures are also very, very responsible to depict the culture of that area, of that region. So it's very important to know some folk songs, to learn them, and because it's very knowledgeable, it makes you learn the culture of that area.
right. So I've also heard that yes, classical music we have to learn. But what about folk music? The folk music is also being learned in the schools, or it is one stream where somebody wants to learn. So he can also learn folk music.
You should learn folk music, and I think and this is the area where like people don't learn as of now. They don't make their kids learn, or parents don't learn, because now the gentry is like all working, so they have got into a lot of refined lifestyle. So like even the parents are well educated, so they might not know, but yes, when it comes to some regional songs, they might be knowing. But I think it's very important to know these songs, because it keeps you grounded, it keeps you towards your root. So when I sing these songs and I use only those dictions, was what my mother, Srimati Prabha Das, has taught me. So she used to taught that she used to teach that you have to, look forward to the dictions, to the accent of that particular song. You don't have to sing it in Hindi. Some songs are in Braj Bhasha, some songs are in Awadhi. Many songs are not in Khadi Boli, like Khadi Hindi. So there are so many, the languages, the versions of the languages. The moment you go to some rural areas. So my mother used to teach me like that, mokopi hariya kind of a thing. But today's kids, so obviously they are all, the international schools. Even in their house, they speak English. They don't speak their regional languages. So it's difficult for them. That's why maybe the folk music in schools and even in parental house, they are not getting that training. But definitely, I just feel it is very good for your peace of mind. It makes you connected with your roots and with your thoughts, and whatever your dadis and your nannies and your mausis and everybody used to sing. So it keeps you connected, and obviously it keeps you connected to the Indian culture as well. So once you sing that, I have actually noticed it, that I have been using into the depression patient, and I asked him to sing his regional song from Hyderabad, the Telugu one, and he was so happy to sing that, because it's not the normal language you are singing. You are singing some rural languages, and you want to dance on it, because these songs are all very rhythmic, very good tunes and rhythmic, and they are very easy songs, rhythm wise, tune wise. So it's very important to sing that. It is very important, and like I said, it's regional. So in schools sometimes it is difficult, it is important, but it's difficult to implement, because the children are from different areas, from different regions. So they will say, why should I learn this? So my advice is that they should learn all languages. I know Marathi, Abhang, and I like it so much. I know Punjabi songs, Heer, so many Punjabi ones. I like one Gujarati ones, and I know them. So first of all, language learning is very important for brain and cognition. Secondly, uh, so they can start from a very normal devotional rhythmic songs, like the schools can start, and even the parents can make them learn very easy ones, like आओ सरस्वती आओ na 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 na. So this is so good that you can just compose it. नजरिया लग जाएगी मोरे कान्हा को कोई मत छेड़ो. Now Kana, Krishna is in all regions. It's not region specific. So devotional songs and the deity songs are very, very, common, and very easy songs, easy compositions can be, taught to the kids, and then the kids may taught to their parents. Like this can be the project that you go and teach your parents, because even the parents don't know these, the traditional songs. So as a bhajan, as a rhythmic fast bhajan, this can be implemented, the deity songs can be implemented as a folk songs in the schools as well. The teachers can make the students learn songs from their region, so that way even the teachers will feel so peace of mind and relaxing, because even the teachers are so stressed out, shouting every time, yelling. So for them also, so I normally teach students my UP regional folks, and they take it, maybe it takes time, because like I said, dictions, accent, it's really difficult to get, but I teach them, and with time they get it. And then they are not even sophisticated like they normally talk in English, so they think very sophisticated, and then they, hello ma'am. So these things actually sometimes it's some percent it gets subsided. So it's very important to teach and have tricks on to teach on the folk music.
Yeah, and I think this is also way of we always say that unity into diversity. So I think this is one
Yeah,
platform where we really
exactly.
do diversification in music and connect. So coming back to
Definitely.
our raga of the day, Bhairav. So would like to hear any beautiful song which is popular and our audience must have heard that song.
Yeah, Bhairav is a Gambhir Prakriti raga, and therefore you will find, first of all, two kinds of songs, little sad ones and morning ones. So this is a movie song also. Jago Mohan Pyare Jago, Jago Mohan Pyare Jago, Savali Surat Mohe Man Hi Bhave. So this is one song. So Jago Mohan Pyare, as I said, it's a Pratah Kalin Rag. Jago Mohan. So this thing. Then very popular one. मोहे भूल गए सावरिया, भूल गए सावरिया, आवन कह गए अजहुना, आवन कह गए अजहुना, इन्हीं ना मोरे खबरिया, मोहे भूल गए सावरिया. Then there is a song very popular, but it is not in Bhairav. It's a type of Bhairav, which is a rag called Ahir Bhairav. पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई, पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई, एक युग जैसे एक पल बीता, युग बीते नींद न आई, पूछो ना कैसे मैंने रैन बिताई. Now as you see that it is all the songs are also very gambhir, sad, karun ras, and this rag is also very minor. That's why you find less songs, comparatively less songs in the movies, but you find it in ghazals also. There's a very, I don't know, the people who listen to ghazals, they are familiar. हो दर्द से मेरा दामन भर दे या अल्लाह, फिर चाहे दीवाना कर दे या अल्लाह, हो दर्द से मेरा दामन भर दे या अल्लाह. So this is a very beautiful song in Bhairav. And one more Jagjit Singh song, पत्थर के खुदा पत्थर के सनम, पत्थर के भी इंसान पाए हैं, तुम शहर मुहाबत कहते हो, हम जान बचा कर आए हैं. So for the last one, I think I've mixed the lyrics also. But normally, as we see here, that Rag Bhairav is a Gambhir Prakriti Rag. Its chalan is also Gambhir. It uses the minor notes. So therefore, even the song's lyrics are also very Gambhir Karun Ras. So it depicts the Karun Ras. But it is very good for relaxation and for the Shant Ras, for the activation of, because Shant and activation of the chakras. It's very therapeutic rag, and I think if the viewers should listen the raga, if possible, in the morning. Thank you.
Yeah, it was as usual so wonderful to talk to you and listen all the technicalities of different ragas we had been discussing. So we'll be meeting again next week and discuss other beautiful rag. Till then, bye bye, and you
Thank
take
you
care.
so much.
We have some unique Akulmek memorabilia which will make you look outstanding. The graphics on these corporate gifts are based on the global best business practices. To become recipient of one of these gifts for free, you have to watch this video till the end and provide your valuable comments. Or you can also share your experiences. The person who makes the best comment would be chosen to become a recipient of these beautiful Akulmak gift, absolutely free, delivered to your doorsteps. The winner would also get a chance to be invited live as a distinguished panelist during our next video. What are you waiting for, friends? Please subscribe Akulmak and smash that like button. Hello friends, and as you know that the Indian civilization is the oldest surviving continuous civilization. The whole ideology of Hinduism is the driving force of this civilization. And if you look back into our history, there are very good scriptures which are written which guides us on every step, and scriptures like Ramayana and also Mahabharata, and there are many more. But I like to ask you one question which is intriguing me also. For instance, if you talk about Ramayana, I mean, we all know there are many incidents which are listed in Ramayana, but I think there is one which I want to discuss today, and that is which changes the course of Lord Ram going for exile for 14 years. And that is because the stepmother of Ram asked for his this thing from his father. That means for 14 years he will not be near Ayodhya and he will have to be in the jungle. And that was the thing. We all know that. I don't want to repeat more on this. But my question is that Kekai could have asked for the lifetime exile for Ram. If she was so worried about her son getting the throne, and because she was so possessive about his son Bharat, and therefore he could have completely removed Ram from the picture and sent him to the lifetime exile. Yet she didn't do that. She only asked for 14 years of exile. Well, this is one case, and it has baffled me why she did not ask for lifetime or more number of years, and why only 14 years. So I think we'll come back to this question. Let us look at what more we can see from our scriptures. And when it comes to other scriptures like Mahabharata, similar incident can be recalled when it comes to Mahabharata, and that is when Duryodhana asked for exile of Pandavas. He only asked for 13 years and not more. And he could have asked, they were the arch rival for Kauravas. He could have asked Pandavas to be exiled forever. There was no stopping him. He could have taken that, but yet he didn't do it. And as we know that the Duryodhana is supposed to be the ultimate villain, but he did not ask for lifetime exile of Pandavas. He only asked for 13 years. Well, I think this is, in my point of view, this is because of the underlying belief system of Hinduism, where the belief is that there is nothing permanent in our universe. And that is the basic of Hinduism. This is what I feel. And since nothing is permanent, there is no point in asking for something which is like an infinity. So Kekai not asking for exile for more than 14 years because I think back of her mind she knew that okay, 14 years is sufficient, and there is no need to ask for the lifetime, because the underlying mechanism of Hinduism is that there is nothing called permanent, and everything is ever changing, everlasting. Now let's go back to other examples where the other demons as described in our scriptures. There are different demons who always wanted immortality. They always use their powers to attain immortality. Now this is not new. I mean, if you look at any other powerful king in any other culture, the ultimate goal of that king would be to live forever, because once you have tasted power, and as far as Hinduism is concerned, the power is really not a strong attribute, it is actually a negative attribute. So once you become a very powerful king, or you also become demon king as per the scriptures, then the ultimate desire is to live forever and rule forever, and that is why they wanted immortality. However, Brahma never gave immortality to anyone, and he always refused immortality. So they have actually got workaround around it. It's a very long story, because each one of these demon king, have their own nemesis. Who can kill them, how they will die, etc., etc. Long stories. But I think the whole point is that even Brahma did not give them something which is going to last forever. This is something which is not permanent, and I think that is the whole the essence of Hinduism. That is a basic underlying essence, that we believe in the Kal Chakra. Kal Chakra is the wheel of time, and the wheel of time is infinite. You cannot compete with the wheel of time. The time will keep moving, you keep moving along with the time, and time is never constant, it is ever changing. So I think that is the belief of the Hinduism, and that is why since this was a belief in the Indian society, it survived for so long, because there were no need for collecting material gains. For 10,000 years, humans living in this part of the world, especially who were following the Hindu belief, there was no need for them, because everything was God, owned by God. And when everything is owned by God, you are only utilizing, you are taking permission from God and utilizing the whole resources which are available for your benefit, for the time your journey starts on earth and ends on earth. So during that time, you're not the owner, you're only using it, and you're taking permission from the God. Now if you look at the kings also, even kings did not had the absolute control on the land. There was no concept of owning land, there was no concept of owning things. Kings were only the caretaker of administration appointed by the gods. So this was a belief system continued for very long time, until the time we actually started getting the Islamic invader coming into the country. And before that, if you look at, if you look at all the kings that existed before the Islamic invasion, where are their descendants? Who owned the land? We keep hearing information about Mughals asking for Red Fort legally. They keep filing their applications in the courts, Indian courts, and they lay claim on the Red Fort. However, for as far as the Hindu society is concerned, there are no land records before the Muslim invasions, the first king and all that, first sultan, I beg your pardon. And these Muslim invader brought the concept of owning the land, owning the riches, owning gold, owning this, owning that. All that has come with this Islamic invasion, and because their belief system was basically transfer of property through generations. Whereas in Hindu religion, there was no such thing like that. And we believe that the God is omnipresent, God is taking care of everyone, God is life, God is also death. That was the thing, and we are only nomads in our and we are actually living as a nomad, utilize the resources wherever we go with permission of the God. And therefore this is something which is so unique here. And for the first time, if you go and look at the land records in Indian record systems, you will see that the oldest records available are basically the right and title of the land given out as a benefit to the ministers and other courtesans of these sultans, and that was the first time. So these people started giving land, right, and title to the people who they like, and they used to give them prizes in the form of land, and that actually gave right to feudalism. Before that, people did not own anything. They can move around the land wherever they want. They can live the way they want. Of course, there was law and order that which was maintained by again the religious system, because religious system was so strong that people used to follow this, and they used to literally follow, including kings used to follow this. There are certain ethics, and even kings also did not own anything. So if you look at the kings before the sultans, there is no record of their land, their wealth. We only learn about their buildings, their society, only from the Chinese travelers who came to India and wrote about the society at that point in time. But there is no record of owning any land. So I think this is something which I thought I raise a question within myself, that why KK did not ask for lifetime exile of Ram. I think this is a basic reason, that since we believe, even if you are bad guys, we still believe that there is nothing called permanent. Everything is destroyable. If there is a birth, there is going to be an end to it. So friends, what do you think about this theory? If you feel what I'm saying is right, write in. And if you think that there is more to it, still I would like to engage with you. And I will play some of your good messages in my next Akulmek Live. Until then, I'd like to say goodbye for today, only to catch you in the next one.
Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akulmak Technologies, and I'm in company of very senior professional, a global player who joins us today, Ian Moyes, Chief Revenue Officer of OneUp Sales. He joins us from London, and we will talk about very interesting subject. But before that, let me invite Ian.
Hi, everyone. I'm pleased to be here, and hopefully we're going to have a meaningful conversation that will give you some insight and some value in your time spent listening.
It will be a pleasure, Ian. And think one big problem that everyone has, and people like you and me, we have to handle a lot of distributed workforce across the world. And the challenge that all of us are facing, all the chief executives and all the leaders across the world are facing, that how they manage the workforce, that is one, and how they keep the workforce motivated. And since you work globally with so many organizations, with so many leaders, what is your opinion on this issue that we have?
Yeah, sure. And it's a challenge that was thrown on all of us, right? But before COVID, there was a mixed opinion on remote working. So we had many people already doing it, remote working, getting on with it. But often they were in certain roles. So, for example, territorial-based salespeople were often in this game anyway. Nothing's changed. They were remote working. They were out on the road with customers, and they periodically would come to an office. So for those, the role and the behavior type may have been ingrained in them for years. The real challenge has been those other, particularly back office people who previously were hired to be in an office. How many people would have hired a finance team or a support team previous to this on the basis of hiring remote workers? There are some, but most companies, even the high tech, leaders in the workspace are the most innovative, had a physical space or multiple physical spaces They wanted that team camaraderie. They wanted people to learn from people through osmosis. The people sat around them. They wanted to drive motivation through a leader walking, walking the floor. The old management by walking around. Um, so not many had thought about what would happen if we were all put into this situation for obvious reasons. And I think that the thing to contend now is how has behavior changed, and how does it need to change in leading teams? Whether that team is small or large, how are you behaving in engaging with those individuals, um, and managing them? And one of the behaviors I've seen and had discussions around is typically people metricize this. So you look for metrics that are easy to measure, KPIs for example, and that you can visibly see in systems. So people will look in their CRM for how many calls has someone made today, or what activity have they created? Are they being active? And this is one of the first areas I challenge people, that activity is not necessarily productivity. Activity does not, by definition, have a direct correlation to the outcome. There is a difference between correlation and causation. What you want is activity that causes the right outcome, but doesn't just show you that someone's busy. So it's very difficult, because what I've seen is leaders looking at the activity in a system and then using the stick approach to pick up on an individual of, well, you're not doing enough calls, it doesn't seem like you're working up putting enough activity in. And there's a real danger in leadership and management that you will interact with your team, with your employee, in a different way that stems from suspicion. Right? If you suspect they're not putting the effort in, how are you going to address that? And that's the hard piece, particularly now it's remote. Because in an office, you'll see that behavior. The individual around their colleagues will probably feel that behavior themselves, right? If that individual slacks off for a 2-hour lunch, if that individual is easing back and not putting the effort in, maybe not, in a work environment, it would probably be a conscious thing. You can feel that's happening because you can see people busy around you. If you've stood at the water cooler having a chat for 2 hours, people are seeing you. There is a sort of self-policing aspect. If you're at home, you don't have a camera on watching everyone the whole time, right? It's inappropriate. You've got to trust the behavior of individuals to be getting on with their job. How do you know they are? How do they know they are is an interesting question. They may be slacking. What if they're working at 70%, 60%, 30% of normal, but they've slowly evolved into that behavior and they don't realize themselves because they haven't got visibility of colleagues around them. They haven't got the buzz of the office of what's going on. There'll be some metrics in your systems, whether they be CRMs or ticketing systems or what they've been, but do they have visibility of how they compare and contrast to the people around them? Do they know actually they're doing the least effort per day out of a team of 10, 30 people, whatever it is? People don't want to be letting people down by the nature of it, but at home they have more distractions. So it's a different environment. It's something we've not had to deal with before, and it's very easy for a leader or manager to fall into miscreant behaviors, using the stick instead of the carrot, using the negative. And does a manager, I ask myself this, do I really want to spot someone who isn't behaving in the right way, is letting the team down? That is a difficult call. What do? Do I call them in the afternoon and say, look, you're letting it? It's an uncomfortable call for me, and it's an uncomfortable call for that individual, particularly when they may say, well, I didn't know, I had no intention, and it all feels bad. It's one of those difficult conversations. So I think we need to look at, a number of factors. How the individual, do you understand the individual situation of that team member? Because they may have specific challenges today that you need to appreciate, depending if they're homeschooling, depending if their partner is in the medical services, having to do things differently than they were before, work extra hours. What is their situation? And then understand what is the behavior you should be able to expect from them still, because you, after all, you're still paying them. You know, whilst we're all in a difficult situation, they still have a role to deliver to. And if they're not delivering, what impact does that have on the people around them? That's the other aspect. You know, if one person or two people out of a team are being allowed to not perform, does that create extra work for the others? Do the others have visibility or feeling of that? And how does it make them behave? Does it make them feel, well, if they can do it, I can do it? So it's not we're not in an easy place right now for any leader or manager in terms of the people. And I think the people is the hardest piece we're having to deal with.
Yes, and actually, these are very real problems. In fact, all of us are facing it, and there are tools available in the market which companies like us, small companies, can invest in, and there are VPNs to measure the time. But I'm sure what the point that you're making is very relevant. We can build all the systems, but the humane side is something that we need to reconsider, because nowadays we are also getting exposed to the personal home affairs of our employees, right? Because
Yeah.
in the video we can see, like you mentioned, the partners may be busy and these guys are doing babysitting while working also. So what is the solution, Ian? I think now we have identified the issue, how we can tackle it.
Yeah, so I think there's a number of things. I think one is that, let me give you some examples of the things you can do. One is think about doing regular team calls. You know, perhaps doing a morning huddle. Think what works for you and your team and the size of the team. But some of the behaviors I've seen and talked to people that are working well, and many people have adopted this, is, are you having, for example, a morning call every morning for 15 minutes where everyone jumps on that's available, and it isn't about jumping on and checking the metrics, etc. It's about having a chat. It's having a coffee. It's that behavior you have when you go into the office, where you also have morning, oh, what did you do last night, that sort of thing. Is just creating that camaraderie so they don't feel isolated. So it's the people piece. Or, the other way you can do that is do a beginning of the week and end of the week. Just think what works for your team, but something where you bring the team together. So that's number one. Two is thinking about touching base with the team members. And I do this with my team and have done this over the whole COVID, but not in a way that is isolating the individual. What I mean by that is have a legitimate reason to touch base. Now, it might be they're working on a particular customer opportunity or a customer problem or a particular project. Have a reason you want to touch in with them and talk about something of that. And part of that conversation, you can easily then ask, how are you getting on? How's it been this week? And this sort of thing, rather than you call them to have that conversation of, how you doing? Well, guess what? If that's why you're calling me, you go into a sort of a programmed answer. So it should be part of the normal work environment that you are regularly finding a reason to call them for a business reason, not just to check in on them, because that becomes they know what you're calling for, right? You're talking about something else, and part of the conversation is that warm part of, and how are you finding it the past few days? Is this project keeping you busy? You can make it part of a more natural conversation and more genuine. The other thing you can consider is, for those individuals that you feel may be struggling, is having a conversation with them. Look, I need some help on something. I've got a particular project that I'm working on as a leader. Could you take part of it off my plate? Make them feel wanted and needed with special projects. That's outside their normal remit, maybe stretches them a bit, but maybe makes them feel more valued. The other thing to look at is what metrics you're looking at of the behavior. Because as you rightly say, there are tools to do this. What I've seen is a lot of people just use pure tools that the manager looks at. CRM stats around how many calls they've made, or how many new opportunities they've created, how many tickets they've closed, etc. And that's really me as a manager looking at that and looking at an individual's performance. And if it isn't good enough, what do? Bring the stick in. One of the things you can do there, and it's a little bit slanted towards what we do at One Up, but is you can, on top of CRM data, very easily, you can present that data to those employees in a more interesting way. And a lot of people have been turning this on during COVID, is gamifying that data. because you've already got the data, is representing it in a way that all of those employees see it in a very friendly manner, gamified. So, for example, you might have 5 or 6 metrics that a particular team, it's important to have they're behaving right and creating activity around those metrics, because that, you know, is the cause of the outcome you want. You know, if they're not making calls, they're not following up, they're not creating opportunity, or whatever they're not doing these things, we know we're not going to get the successful outcome. Well, easy. Put some points around those things, present a leaderboard, and have something on a screen that you can display to all of them, even remotely, which during the day keeps them up to date on how they're doing against their peers. So it makes it a bit of fun as well, right? There's no problem with having a bit of fun at work on work factors. So we've seen a lot of people use this to gain, you know, it's about marginal gains. You don't have to take someone working at home and double their performance and output. But if you can get a 5 or 10% gain through simple things such as this, presenting it, making it a bit competitive, and letting them know where they stand, and let everyone can see, oh crikey, you know, Joe's lead on top of the leaderboard today. I'm gonna beat him tomorrow. You know, driving that, because then it becomes self-motivation. It doesn't need you calling them to say you're falling behind. They can see it all the point during the day. They can see where they're at. My kids are gamified, right? They're doing learning online at the moment. And if they see someone in their class is a bit ahead, they put a bit more effort in and put a few more hours in to do it. Rather than me standing over them saying, you need to do another hour of this maths. Which one would you prefer? The individual doing it themselves, or which manager wants to micromanage and call people and prompt them and tell them? So there's simple things you can do to gamify the data you've already got that you can turn on very, very quickly and create a bit of fun in the team that wasn't there before.
I think this is a fantastic idea, Ian. I think, I think I've never heard this before, gamify your performance itself. So I have one question. Do you
Sure.
have some Excel-based model, or are there any tools available to do this? Because to be imaginative also will take a lot of time for people like us. If it is something
Yeah,
ready-made available, I can, use it simply.
yeah, it's a bit biased because it's what we do at One Up Sales. We have a very simple cloud-based tool that you turn on, and it will suck data from lots of different systems very easily. The data you've already got, and just gamify it for you, and make it pretty on screens with nice images. The users can even put their own photos in, and if you wish, put their own sounds in, so that if they do something that makes it successful, they close the most tickets there. Whatever you decide is something to be celebrated, it can create an alert with their sound and their picture on the screen, telling everyone, wow, look how this individual did today. So yeah, we've got a tool that does that. That's very easy. And the beauty of it is, this isn't a big decision for people to make, but it really means something to your employees, and for the managers, it means you don't have to micromanage. It creates self-motivation in people on a daily and hourly basis. It shouldn't be once a week you check in, look at the metrics, and then go, you're not doing good enough. That doesn't cause corrective behavior. If someone can see all the time how they're performing against their peers, in the office you could see it, but if you could see it now remotely, wouldn't that be interesting? That you start going, oh, I need to do a bit more today now because I can see I'm 3rd place, I'm 5th place. I want to be up there today. And you start behaving, and it's self-adjusts. It's such a wonderful thing to see.
So what is the input for this data? How the measurement will get into the system to make sure that the grading happens?
Yeah, so the way we do it, we suck the data from your CRM system automatically. So it's pretty easy. All you have to decide as a business is what data needs to be measured that you want to be represented. we link it so it sucks that data in automatically. So we're automatically checking for that data and pulling it in. So you don't then have to do anything. There's no manual. You can manually upload spreadsheets and do data. You can do, but you don't really want to be doing that, because now you've created someone a job of doing this. And the key thing about gamifying data is it needs to be up to date. People need to trust the data and see it very simply. And then you just yourselves go, how do I want to represent this? And here's a really interesting thing. It isn't just about people playing against people. You can have teams against teams. and you can have different size teams with it automatically balancing it. So if you've got a team of 6 people against 10, it automatically makes it fair and balances the metrics that it's like you've got 10 against 10 competing. So it gives more points relatively to the 6 appropriately, so that if they did the same behavior, fair outcome. So it's a great thing for driving team behavior, team targets, individual targets and behavior. And you can even have it that people can challenge each other. Wouldn't it be great? I'm sat here right now. I want to challenge Bob, who's the other side of the country, but in my team. I want to challenge him today to do more calls than me. I want to challenge him today to close more tickets than me, create more opportunities, whatever it is. I can issue that challenge as an individual. I don't need to go to management. I can start doing it myself and getting the team to compete with each other. And we all do it. We all live in a gamified world, in our consumer world. We all have applications that give you points and you get badges for it. You know, if you do Salesforce training online, you know, training systems, learning management systems are typically gamified, and you earn badges for each level you get to, and it drives self-motivated behavior. It works scientifically and psychologically. Gamification drives the right behaviors within people across the world. Why wouldn't we do this in business?
In fact, while you were speaking, I was trying to apply it to my own company, and it gave me an idea. Why can't we make the dashboard itself as a screensaver for everyone? So whenever you look at your screen, you know exactly which team is doing better and which is not doing better.
Yeah.
And then it will inculcate the ideas of competing between teams. And then if a team leader is prudent, and if he wants to basically compete with another team somewhere in some other city, he will exactly know which is the individual bringing his team score down, and then they will fix that point. So I think it's very interesting. How do we get access to this, Ian?
Sure. So by all means, two ways. One is, thank you for giving me that opportunity. One is come to oneupsales.co.uk, or by all means, come to me individually at ianmoyse.co.uk. That will take you to my LinkedIn profile, and by all means, engage with me personally, whether it be you just want to ask some questions or guidance on this, or you're actually interested in a technology to help facilitate.
Amazing. Because so far what we have done is, and we were thinking that we have nailed the problem. I'll tell you exactly what we have done. We have actually migrated all our employees to something called virtual office, and to give more personal time to each other. So like in the real world in 2019, we used to call each other for a cup of coffee. So we still do that, but we actually create a breakout rooms and we bring each other, individual coffees. The other person will bring his coffee, I'll bring my own coffee, and then we have coffee together. So up to that level we have done that. But I think you're talking about a next level, because you're now talking about using the digital world to automatically propel in the forward direction. So I think it's amazing. It's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of viewers who are watching this may be interested in reaching out to you and leveraging this whole gamification concept. If there are ready-made tools available, they will like to access it. I'm sure a lot of viewers may be interested in doing this.
Super. Thank you. Look forward to hearing from some of you.
Right. Ian, it was a great pleasure talking to you today, and we will find some other great opportunity to discuss something else. But I think today's subject about how to motivate your employees while managing them reportedly using gamification as a concept is really, really mind-blowing. So thank you very much for sharing this with us.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
So see you next time, Ian. Take care, and we will catch up soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, friends. In fact, in our session today, we want to discuss very chronic subject which is affecting everyone, and that is about restarting our work. We have been in lockdown for almost 18 months, and now people are getting back to work, and there is a lot of discussion about hybrid workforce. To discuss this matter, I have a very important, very eminent personality joining from Singapore. Her name is Farida Charania, and she is a CEO of Career Zoom. And she is expert in HR and also learning and development. So I think she is the best person to answer this question. So let's welcome her. How are you, Farida? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm doing very well, CK. How are you, and how are our viewers? More importantly, I just wanted to kind of come here and connect again with our viewers. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to this discussion.
Well, I think this is a very important point that you've raised. The viewers are actually confused, including myself. There is a lot of conversation. 1 week we are open, next week we are again closed down, and then we keep hearing news about the third wave, which never came. So I think there is a lot of confusion, and the companies have to restart their business in a way that the life normalization should happen. So I think there is a lot of conversation on hybrid. And I think we need clarity. Our viewers would need a lot of clarity. What is your opinion, Farida ji?
Okay, so thanks, CK. This is a very important question. And, now more than 18 months into the lockdown or partial lockdown, open, close game, I think it's becoming a serious issue. Because if someone has been in a job for a while, hybrid is fantastic for them. If someone has been working from home, and they are mid-career, it's fantastic because it actually, kind of ties into their personal aspirations. They get time to do things with their family. They are able to kind of, save the travel time, etc. And they have already passed that phase where, mentorship, companionship could be formed in the early stages because they already have that network. The problem is when the young adults who get into the workforce, if they start working remote, initially maybe they kind of find it very exciting because your world is very large. You have opportunities globally, and you are doing what you were meant to do, but you do lose out on interaction, a social life within your workspace, mentorship, and most importantly the opportunity to learn from others. Because in isolation, it is, however sexy it sounds, that you can work from home. So you can kind of really slide from your bed straight to your chair and start working. You don't need to dress up, so you can actually have your probably your Christmas on top and 4th of July on the bottom. But the point is that this whole thing about working from home has not only caused a lot of fatigue, and it's not just the Zoom fatigue that we are talking about, but it has caused the mental isolation is becoming a serious issue now. So I think while hybrid is to stay, there is some interaction which is definitely very important.
Well, Farida, I think the hybrid is about going to work few days and then staying back home few days. And in fact, I like the analogy that you described, straight slide down like a slider into your office desk. I love it actually. In fact, if we have that technology with us. However, is there an alternative? I mean, hybrid we are talking about is the most ideal condition, but I don't see this ending. Is there an alternative, or is there a need for a new kind of a system? I think there's a whole lot of confusion is there in terms of what people should be preparing to do. And I think you raised a very important point about the youngsters who are just starting the job. They don't know how the office looks like. They don't know how to work. They have no idea. So I think this is something that we need clarity on. What is your opinion, Farida?
I think, as you rightly said, hybrid is here to stay, because it's not about reopening and things like that, but it's also that companies probably realize the value that you can release a lot of real estate if it's hybrid. You can have hot desks, people can come into office as and when, unless it's a kind of an organization which needs people to be present. So while all of this is happening, there is this issue where, you know, new joiners, especially because new joiners, if it's specifically if it's their first job, it's never an easy, it's never an easy journey. So you know, some good things that have happened during this recent times is that some onboarding processes have been defined very clearly, because it used to be, so you know, there is an anecdote that I would share. A friend of mine told me some time ago that if there is no definition, there is no product. And we as an organization are selling this product for years. So there is no clear definition. In the past, there was no clear definition of how the onboarding. So there is guidance, but there wasn't a definition. There wasn't a system. There wasn't you know, centralized. So if it's a large company, every country works in their silos. And furthermore, if it's a very large company, then every office in that particular country also works in silos. But what has happened is, because of this whole hybrid you know, working environment, processes have been streamlined. So you get the information that you need on your day one, etc. You're welcome and all of that. And then, you know, you do Zoom meeting with your colleagues, and you actually, you know, you do that in a very systematic fashion, because there is no longer the liberty of, you know, knowing people at the coffee machine, or, you know, at the water cooler, or, you know, on your bathroom breaks. You don't meet people. So this is a very serious issue. One recommendation, which, and you know, I have said this many times and I would say it again, that yes, hybrid is ideal, but you know, when there are new joiners, maybe that hybrid could be a little more you know, little more structured for them. So they can come into office, probably, you know, for a few days, they can come into office every day. So they get to meet people who are on round robin. They get to meet with people. They are able to actually at least give a face to the name, because Zoom, you know, any video conferencing is not like meeting in person. It isn't. Initially, honestly, you know, I have traveled so much over the years that I absolutely loved it, that I don't need to travel. My clients are not expecting me to be there, and you know, they are happy to have these online meetings. I'm able to close deals online, etc., etc. But today, you know, I do feel that fatigue myself. So if me being 20 years in the business, if I can feel the fatigue, then somebody who's just started a year or two ago, who's not even had a chance to build those relationships, would experience this a lot more. And also there's this new culture which has come up because of this whole, you know, hybrid working, that you have back-to-back Zoom meetings, which is actually very tiring, because you know, people like us who probably are contributors to most meetings, you cannot switch off your camera and relax. There are people who can do that if they are just participating, but you know, people who have to be an active part of that meeting, they cannot just simply relax and, you know, just switch off their camera. So it's very tiring, because you mentally, you're working. Again, the boundaries of your work time have kind of, you know, because your work time is gone into your personal space, your personal time has creeped into your work time. So you know, you have that 1 hour, you take that lunch break, and that lunch break, you want to get your laundry done, you want to do this, you want to do that. In an office, you don't do that. In an office, you're very focused. So all of this is unfortunately not very ideal. Some people like it, but for someone who just starts working, it is a very, very difficult situation, because you know, it's like I heard this the other day. I was having a meeting with a few interns who work with me, and I heard someone's mother actually calling him in the background that it is lunchtime. Why are you not coming here? And I want you to clear the table before everyone sits down. And she didn't know I was on the call, and I could hear it. So sometimes, you know, it becomes very embarrassing for those people as well. But these are again trivial things. I think the main thing I do worry about the younger generation who's just started working, about their mental health. Because in isolation, it's very difficult to scale, to grow, to, you know, learn more things. Ideal recommendation would be that the hybrid probably is a good way forward, but people who just start working, they should have the flexibility to kind of go into office more often so they can meet everyone.
Well, Farida, in fact, thinking about the old times before 2019, when we used to interview people, we used to ask them question, hey, what is your experience? How many people you know? What you can do for me? I think those questions are not relevant in any job interview today, because whether 100 people or 1000 people doesn't matter, because how many people you know on the internet is what matters today. So even if you work with 100 CEOs, it won't matter, it won't bring any value. So I think the whole scenario is changing. Any opinion on this one?
I think so. So, I would kind of, share an anecdote, which I love doing. So, this a while ago, I actually read this joke where there was a funeral and there were three people at the funeral. And, people were asking each other, but, he's very popular. He has 5,000 friends on Facebook. But so that's the world that we are living in today. Honestly, your Rolodesk is becoming very useless right now, because if you are actually, if you say that many people, it doesn't matter, because if you work for a large organization, let's take this example. I come from HSBC. So from HSBC, if I call a client, they're going to talk to me, because I may be a very normal person, a very small person, but the organization I work for isn't, and they will talk to you. Now, the thing is, when I'm calling them in my own capacity, will they still talk to me? And the difference is, will they still entertain me? So today that, knowing somebody has become as irrelevant as that, because honestly, if you are going to an organization which is expecting you to bring your entire network with you, you are only bringing your LinkedIn network, honestly, because you are not going to events, you are only attending events virtually. So that, whole recognition, that connection, that's not happening. In fact, yesterday, it's been 2 years since I actually presented at Slush in Helsinki in Finland. And yesterday I had that reminder on Facebook. And I was just thinking that it's been so long since I actually spoke at a conference in front of so many people. And I don't know if this is going to continue. That actually got us, to our round of funding and so many things. And all of that is very difficult to do virtually. I don't know. I have managed to raise another round of funding for one of my entities recently, but that's a small seed round, and I don't know if I will be able to replicate that success for Series A if I have to still do it virtually. You still need to meet your investors. They need to have that confidence in you, as a founder. They need to kind of, believe in your ability to take this business from point A to point B. So I don't know if I can make that connection, over a video conference. Maybe 5 years down the line, when people get used to only video conferences, it could be possible, but I find it very difficult.
Well, Farida, I think extending my previous question about building your personal brand, and that is more valuable. I think that is a totally different stream. We will discuss that some other day. But I think the personal brand vis-a-vis the type of industry that you are employed in. So, for example, when we talk about work from home and virtual office, etc., may be relevant for certain industry, but then there are certain industries who have already invested in capital, and they are stuck with those machineries, and there is no second thought about working from home. I mean, there is no way that industry can work from home. So in that situation, what will happen to those industries who don't have liberty to work from home? I think that is a big segment that we are ignoring, isn't it?
Well, I don't think we are ignoring that segment, because, that segment actually is very important, because that is where your manufacturing happens. That's where your logistics take place. So, I mean, a logistics company cannot afford to have workers working from home. So even during lockdowns, most of these facilities were working. And as an exception, these workers were in their workplaces. So I don't think we are ignoring them. I just think that this particular question is not relevant to them. This particular worry is not so relevant to them. They have other worries, because, with all of these lockdowns, their capacity to kind of do more work goes down. Their capacity, the demand for their goods probably go down. Logistics is not going down by any stretch of imagination. That's the only one which is kind of boomed. So if you look at virtual platforms or logistics, these are businesses which have boomed during this time. So I don't know, and also I don't think I'm in a position, or I am educated enough in that area to make a comment. But where I'm coming from is mostly organizations which work from home is not ideal for a bank also, but no choice, they have to work from home in these constant lockdown situations. So I'm talking about these workers because a lot of young people join organizations, or rather have joined organizations in the last 1.5 years. They have started on a hybrid model, and eventually they have only work from home. Like in Singapore, work from home is still default, so you can't go into your offices. So I have not met most of my new joiners. I've just met them virtually. I've interviewed them virtually. I've hired them virtually, and they will finish their internships also virtually. And I don't think I will meet them. So, that is the thing, because now people look very different on camera as well, young people, they kind of do all kind of stuff like putting filters and, makeup and everything. And I don't know, if I see them in a mall, I might recognize them. So there is no connection building that is happening. I might not have an opportunity to kind of crack a joke with them because I don't know them well enough, and they might not have the confidence that they can do it with me because they don't know me well enough.
And I think that is why we must talk about the mental health issues, because I think the overall development of a human being is happening in a different direction right now. What is your opinion on this one?
I think it's a big issue. CK, I have experienced, bereavement within very close circle, and it is a serious issue. So, younger people getting stressed out with this whole pandemic situation and working from home is definitely a big issue. But I do see professionals who are, our peers in our age group. I have seen bereavement there as well. So I know of this one person who was doing very well. He was an MD at one of the big fours. He was staying alone in Singapore, away from home, Swiss, national, and away from home for so long, right? I think he just couldn't take it. He just ended it all. And who actually thinks that a 38-year-old will finish everything, will not have will to fight any longer? So loneliness, lethargy of this whole pandemic, the whole momentum of not really going anywhere, just being on your own gets to people. So mental health is a very big problem. The helplines, the helplines in the UK, they've never been so busy. I've worked very closely with someone from NHS for one of my projects in the UK, and they are from the psychiatry department. So they are a consulting psychiatrist in that area. And what I understand is that helpline is constantly busy because a lot of people are calling for help. Good part is there is help available, but not everyone is actually. I think the very young generation, children who are growing up, they might get used to it because they are even schooling in Zoom. So, they are actually doing virtual classes and all of that. So for them, it might be a way of life. But people who are in their 20s, they didn't grow up this way. They didn't grow up in isolation. They grew up with a community. So in the workplace, if they are in isolation, it is a big worry.
Yeah, certainly. In fact, there is even a bigger menace which nobody talks about, sort of ignore, is the anxiety. I think that is also there. In fact, there is huge anxiety among people, isn't it? What is your experience, Farida?
I think I have never seen so much anxiety in the workplace. Honestly, it might be a very crude statement and it might be a blanket statement, but and that my work is that I speak to people all the time, and people are anxious that I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. does my boss like me? Does my boss not like me? Am I actually doing my work well? Because I'm not getting any feedback. Because see, as a new joiner, honestly, whether you like it or not, you are on the lowest rung of priorities in a company. Somebody who's running that department doesn't so while what you contribute is important, but for them, they want to focus, because they are also remote, they want to focus on what actually their job really is, what they need to deliver. So they don't have time for fluff, and people are dealing with not just work from home, but they are dealing with children studying from home. Not everyone has large houses, so they are dealing with a lot of things, and nobody is going to sit down and mollycoddle people. I mean, things like mentoring, finding yourself, blah, blah, blah. All of these things are not happening in today's world. So it is a big issue, because anxiety is of not knowing what exactly is in store for you. Are you performing well? Are you being liked by your peers? Do your colleagues actually, kind of, can they make a connection with you? And it's not, but to all our viewers, I would just say one thing, that you are not alone. Even we, after 20 years of being in the industry, we also experience that. Yeah. And I'm sure people who have been in the industry for 40 years also experience that. So it is, you are not alone. All of us have that anxiety. I have the anxiety because I don't know what I'm talking right now. Is my audience actually connecting with me? Are they actually finding it useful? I don't know. Maybe CK has that anxiety that, what, I don't know if Farida is, talking to me for what reason. I don't know if CK really likes me. So all of these anxieties would be much lesser. They would still be there, but it would be much lesser if we were to meet in person, if we had the opportunity to make that connection. So my thing is that maybe I am not an authority on this, and I don't understand mental health as well as I should, because I'm not a trained professional, but I see a lot of people, and I think this whole anxiousness is become part and parcel of being in your work life. And it is a serious issue. This needs to be addressed in some way or the other, not wait for it to kind of die down, because otherwise it will become like COVID, where certain countries took a stand that they want to get the mass immunity, and the cost for that was several million lives. So probably this is something which is, the writing is on the wall, and it shouldn't be taken very lightly.
Well, certainly not. I think it should not be taken lightly. In fact, nowadays there is so much information available today that in case if you have symptoms of invisible anxiety, you should consult a physician or consult the proper doctor. And none of us are expert, but I think we can only talk like human beings, where we realize that there are certain hidden things which are happening. So Farida, thank you so much for joining us today and giving your views on how the industry will shape up, whether hybrid or non-hybrid, what are the footfalls. I think these are very interesting questions that we have raised, and you have raised especially today. We don't know how it will eventually pan out after 2 years, but today these are the things which are affecting all of us. So thank you so much for joining us today, Farida.
Thank you so much, CK. I always love coming on your show, and I love our viewers, because sometimes we get some very interesting questions, and those are sometimes discussion points for our next discussion. So thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, viewers, for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate. If you have questions, CK will have the email ID out there after the after this show. Please reach out to us, and if there is anything that we can help, feel free to ask. We may or may not be able to help you directly, but we can certainly point you in the direction which can help you. So thank you very much. Wish you all a fantastic day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And thank you again, CK. Stay well, all of you.
So we had a fantastic conversation with Farida, and if you want to reach out to us, to me or to Farida, you can use the email which will be published at the end of the program. Or in case you're looking for a job or you have some opportunity that you want to explore, you can reach out to us and we will make that connection happen with Farida. So I'll say goodbye today, only to catch you in the next one.
Thank you.